Melo wasn't the only star missing from this game. Allen Iverson not playing for the third straight game because of a back issue. In fact, Iverson isn't even in Detroit. He's traveled to Washington, D.C. to have his back examined by doctors at Georgetown, his alma mater. Iverson, when he returns, will for the first time as an NBA player be coming off the bench. That decision's already been made by Michael Curry as the Pistons try to get their chemistry back and try to move themselves back up the standings in the Eastern Conference. Here's the lowdown on what happened since the trade you all know about by now. When Chauncey Billups was sent to Denver, Iverson came back the other way. Forget the stats. Look at the very bottom. The records. The Denver Nuggets plus 20 games over 500 since Billups arrived, while Iverson's Pistons have been a sub-500 team. And in fact, the bigger issue seems to have been Iverson and Rip Hamilton when they're both playing at the same time. So looking ahead now, Iverson, if he comes back, he's coming off the bench. How well can he handle that role? How appropriate is it that he is coming off?
Well, I think it's a role that none of us really know how he's going to respond to because he's never done it, maybe in his entire life. So we don't really know exactly what's going to happen, but we do know this. He doesn't have much of a choice at this point. He obviously, as a starter, he influenced that team to the point where they just didn't have any offensive continuity whatsoever. You got to remember, he joined a team that had a core nucleus of Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, Antonio McDyess, even Rodney Stuckey, who grew up with this team last year in the Eastern Conference Finals. These guys had a camaraderie, a chemistry, a unity before he got there. He interfered with that. He interrupted it. It wasn't all his fault. His style of game really affected these guys as a starter. Now, as a reserve, with this team playing as well as they have with a win over Denver on Tuesday, they will have beaten 3 of the top 6 teams in the NBA consecutively. This team finally has some momentum. They look like a dangerous team now in the postseason. He has no choice but to accept it. And as a player on that second unit, I think he can thrive if he plays with those guys, can come in, have the green light, play offensively as well as he's used to, get the shots that he wants, and not worry about am I affecting Richard Hamilton and Sheed and Tayshaun Prince and their rhythm.
And as you mentioned, as you talk about their core group of guys, a team that's been playing together and had so much chemistry the last handful of seasons and success, making it to 6 straight Eastern Conference Finals, I thought earlier in the season when the decision was made, Iverson should have been the one to come off the bench. At this point now, he'd be more used to it. Hey, it happens to all of us. We get older sometime. And he's a mercurial guard, one of the best scorers in NBA history. But his style of play as a point guard and as a shooting guard may lend to him at this point of his career, not only possibly coming off the bench for the Pistons, but wherever he is possibly next season. So right now, that's a point where he's probably at home thinking about my future and how this is going to affect me for Detroit, but also long term.
And ultimately, this injury to Allen Iverson's back could be the best thing to happen to the Pistons, the best thing to happen to him. And I don't know that Michael Curry ever would have really had the courage to pull that trigger. He said he was going to come off the bench regardless, but it just so happens he gets the back spasms. He's out for 3 games. This team plays best basketball of the season with him out of the lineup. It forced Michael Curry to make this decision, and now he has the backing of everybody because of how well they played. I don't know that he ever would have done that if it hadn't been for Allen Iverson saying that he had a back injury. Now Iverson has to accept it for the good of the team, or else he's going to look like a selfish player if he can't come back and try to fit in and make the best of this situation and help them.
And chemistry has been an obvious issue. You don't have to be a basketball expert to see that on the floor since Iverson has arrived, and it shows up in the record as well. The Pistons are 10-3 when they have either Hamilton or Iverson since the trade, but just 17-26 when they've had both of them on the floor at the same time. All right, top of the hour here.